I literally come back from having a really serious accident at work at the time, and went through the process of doing rehab, and the club were fantastic with me for that. And I think he'd taken the chaps over to Henlow Grange, I think, for a sort of a bit of a chill out day and what have you, and he invited me over and called me up and said, I want to offer you a contract. So I was like, wow, that's amazing. So that was one of my schoolboy dreams, realised at the ripe old age of whatever it was then, 30 or 32, 33. And it took me about 3 or 4 seconds to say, yeah, thanks very much. Yeah.
You know, I remember the first game I played for Wycombe in the first team. I was playing against the then England fullback, and I gave him a roasting. And, you know, everything seemed to just happen. Good things happened. And I then, as you probably know, stayed playing for Wycombe for 15-odd years and played 520-odd games for them. So, you know, it was a great time there. Great team, great club.
Brian Lee at the time, the manager, he knew Jack Charlton, and he knew the football, the standard and everything. And he said to us, I think it was a bit of a contract really, because he said to us, as good as you are, because we did have a good team, there's no question, you'll get a spanking against these, because these are no-nonsense professional side. But of course, all that did really with the characters that we had in our side was spur us on really, if anything. And we really should have won.
And I can remember when we got back to Wycombe after the match, we stopped at the cricket ground on the way in from London, and the supporters towed the coach by hand from there to the Red Lion in the High Street. And in the High Street there was the most enormous crowd, and I was lucky enough being part of the squad, as it were. And we went up on the balcony of the old Red Lion and faced all the crowd who were cheering as though we'd won the match comfortably. But it was such an experience that I shall never, ever forget.
The game when Cuz got sent off for his 2-foot tackle, you know, we'd come in at half-time, and I think he'd been sent off like 5-10 minutes before, and he was in the shower, showered up, all soaked up, and O'Neill just come in and dragged him out by his ear and just threw him into the into the tunnel area. That was hilarious. Bless him, poor old Cuzzo. But for me, I didn't even know what Mike said at half time. I was just curled up in the corner trying to stop him seeing me laughing.
There was a fantastic camaraderie. I know it's an overused word, but it really was. It was evocative of the team. They were willing to fight for each other the whole time. But there was an enjoyment during our training sessions as well. And we weren't blessed with any great training ground or anything like this here. We tried different places. We finally settled up at Holmer Green for a while, where there was a man and his wife looked after us very, very well. And they were terrific to us. And after training, the buns and the sandwiches would come out. Honestly, it really was a super, super time for us. And of course, with the results going well on the pitch, that helps immensely. And I look back on that there with really fond memories.
In the first season, we got through to the last 16 of the Amateur Cup, which of course was always the big thing in those days. We played Marine Crosby, a team from Liverpool, at Lopes Park, a crowd of 12,000. Lucky enough, we beat Marine and then had Barnet away in the quarter-finals of the Amateur Cup with 11,000. You've got to remember that this was shortly after the war, when there weren't many cars around. They'd been starved of sport during all the war years. And there's a huge appetite for sport, but because people didn't have cars, you either travelled to London to see Arsenal or Chelsea or someone, or you stopped in Wycombe and watched the local team.
Your goal then is to actually play in an FA Trophy final, and I was lucky enough to play in two, as were some of the other players. And if you take the the year we won the trophy in the league in the same year. We also won the Champion Shield 3 years on the trot, and that year we got beat in the Drinkwise final as well. So we won 3 out of 4 trophies at non-league level that you can win. but arguably I was part of probably the best non-league team in the country. So, they were great times.
We played against Tottenham in a friendly when they had an unbelievable side out. And Glenn Hoddle, Ozzy Ardiles, Ricky Villiers, they were really a first-class team. That was the year, I think, that Clive Allen scored 45 goals or something in the old First Division. So, yeah, it was quite an experience. But, I spent my whole afternoon, I think, backpedaling for Glenn Hoddle's little chips over the top, because he didn't chip anything onto your head of your centre-half. He chipped everything just over your shoulder or just over the back where you couldn't reach it. He was unbelievable, really. His skill level was fantastic.
It was very strange. That was my second game, I think. I saw about 10 people wearing wigs, and I just couldn't believe it. I think my hair was, at that time, was very, very distinct and very unique. So people, I used to get called all sorts of things every time we play away, but I just took it as banter, and then the Wycombe fans really took it to their heart, and then they started selling some wigs in the club shop.
John was fully aware of my deficiencies, but he looked at my strengths and said, "Okay, what can I get out of this kid? What can he bring to the team?" And that's a fantastic quality in a manager. And I was able to do well, and the team was able to do well. Most importantly,
I was top scorer for a few years, but when you play with good players, it does help. They put good crosses in and make good chances for you. And, obviously I scored the first goal at Adams Park as well against Nottingham Forest. I think that was, how long was that, 30 years ago? It's a long time ago now. So, it was really pleasing.
That, of course, is really what my philosophy was at the club. Wycombe Wanderers is for people in Wycombe, first and foremost. And it's only when we can't find them in Wycombe that we might go out to Marlow or Maidenhead. You know what I mean? That was my thinking. And let's make it our club, let's make it the town club. But you get, the grammar school, obviously, is rugby, so that wasn't going to produce anything. And the other schools were all in a bit of a mess. So I was disappointed with the number of local players we had, really.
I think the week before we lost 3-2, I didn't play in that game. I had a virus for about 4 or 5 days during the week building up to the Sutton at home game, and I came to the ground. Martin said, "Are you okay to play?" I said, "I'm okay." David Jones and the doctor said, "I don't think he should play because I lost half a stone." And funny enough, I went in and watched the Grand National while the game was on, because I was so devastated that I couldn't play. And but then I think we played Woking during the week, drew 0-0, and then Martin changed the team completely because we lost at that game, and he thought he'd go for it. And we were so hyped up for this game. Martin says to me now, he said it's in his top 5 games of all time since he's been a manager. And I think, really? And he's quite genuine when he said it was in his top 5 games, that Sutton away game, which we won 4-0. And I was very lucky to score 2 goals, and I think go down and do as one of the worst celebrations you've ever seen in football as well.
The resilience in that group, how many replays we went through? I think 2 or 3. I think Millwall, Grimsby, and Wimbledon all went to a replay during that. And then to play Leicester, beat them away. And of course, to lose against Liverpool, but in a very respectable fashion, if there is such a thing when you lose. It just was... It was the moment for me as a footballer outside of, and I still put this above playing for my country being the next big thing. But those are the 2 peak moments in my soccer playing career.
It was very exciting, 90-odd thousand packed house, wonderful. Coming up the tunnel was incredible. You would come out through the opening and onto the pitch, and the roar was something to behold. It was amazing. Wonderful memories.
This letter arrived from the surgeon, and it was all typed as they officially are. And at the bottom, there's a very big bold ink signature. And underneath it said, "What a remarkable recovery. What a remarkable man." And I think that just summarises the types of people that worked and played for Wycombe Wanderers.
I remember Brian Lee took me to one side and he said, "Remember, it's not quantity, it's your quality of life." And basically he said, if I joined Wycombe, I would be an England amateur international. And true to his word, within a couple of months of signing for Wycombe, I'd won my first amateur international cap. I think we played it at Wycombe, actually. It was against Republic of Ireland, I think.
And then I was able to get a goal with about 5 minutes to go, and it was incredible. You know, the whole tent full with Wycombe fans, scarves, banners, mums, dads. You know, it just went crazy. The whole end went just ballistic, and it was a fantastic feeling. And I hoped it wasn't just going to be that. We were all like desperate to keep that cup run going, and even if we could have taken it to extra time or penalties or something, just because we enjoyed thoroughly the run, the trip, the adrenaline-filled sort of journey that it was.
Obviously, that Bury one sticks out because it was my first senior hat trick. The Chelsea at home game where we drew 1-1, and I managed to score. Charlton away where we won 1-0 would be one that sort of stuck in my mind, and Fulham away where I think we won 2-1, and I was fortunate enough to score again.
We were able then to see the game through, and the atmosphere afterwards, you know, with the home supporters was fantastic. And I think everybody that was, you know, associated or involved in that game will never forget it.
Certainly that Wycombe team was a very, very strong team, but probably no stronger than Brian Lee's teams all across that era. It's just that you've got to give yourself the opportunity of being able to play in something like an FA Cup game or amateur cup final or whatever, to see if you can meet those expectations.